I'm gonna talk about the game jam game that I made that I named Fading Echoes, and it's about how to make a branching dialogue game really quick and really nasty. um, so the premise of the game, for anybody that hasn't played it yet, you play as a child of a family of four. You just recently moved out, and after some time, you just came back home. Your parents missed you, and there's some drama going on that you can resolve. And it's all dialogue based. There are always three choices that you can make, and the choices change the outcome of the game, and there are 8 endings that you can achieve based on the choices that you made. There's over 300 unique dialogues that you can trigger. Um, yeah, that's basically it. And I just want to show off like what's going on in the background, because it's actually not that complicated. Um, I don't have any fancy slides or anything. I'm just gonna show it to you straight from the engine. So the first thing I have to show you is how I set up the dialog tree. I'm using an open source repository from GitHub, which is called Xnode. You can just pull this, you can integrate it into Unity. It looks like this, and you have some fancy nodes that you can connect with each other. You can do like super fancy stuff with it if you want to, but I just did the basic node connections, so I didn't use it to its full potential basically. So that looks like this. This is one of the dialogues that I have in the game, and you can see it's branching away depending on which answer you give, and in the end it usually always resolves into one node. Sometimes it resolves into multiple endings as well. So what I did is basically I created an NPC line, which are lines that are not choices. That's Even though it's called NPC, your player character, if they speak, they also have NPC lines, because I couldn't be bothered to make PC lines. What this is, it's just text. All of this is just if I look at this is actually just a scriptable object within Unity. That's how Xnode handles it. All of this, like the entire node here, is one scriptable object that you can set the values of, either in here in the inspector. I can set the line text, or I just use Xnode's already provided window that you can open, and then you can just do it in here. I can connect these nodes together. That's some logic. Let me quickly look at it. Where is it? I have a dialog node. In here, that's pretty much my base class that I created, which inherits from Xnode's node. That's how you get the nodes to show up. And in here, this is my line text that the NPC speaks, or anybody speaks for that matter. And building on top of that, I have my NPC line node, where I have there's some emotions depending on what choice you make, and there's like little icons that show up. All of this can be set in the dialog tree, and then there's this input and output attribute, which lets you connect nodes to each other. So this is the key element that I had to do to just be able to reference one node to the next node. So, and everything else after that is as easy as play current node. If current node is finished, which means you enter with the mouse, you click once, play the next node. And nodes are just connected with previous and next node, and that way I can really easily advance in the dialog tree. Once you reach a player line, there's 3 answers that you can give, and based on those 3 answers you get to a next node. Again, the same logic here, but this time I have one previous node, so I come in from one node and I come out into 3 next nodes. I also have a helper function that says get next node line ID based on the choice index that you make. So choice 0 is always the first answer, or in that case, 1 is the first answer, 2 is the second answer, 3 is the third answer. That's how you get the next line. It's technically really simple, and that way I can set all of this up. There's also, because I spoke about it earlier, there's this emotion here. So it's all exposed in here. I can just set any emotion that I want, and it will just show up because I've set it up that way. Maybe I can show one other that ends in a different outcome. Let me see, maybe this one. Edit graph. Right. Okay, all of those also end in the same thing, but that's like another one. And you can see like there's 3 answers here. You go up here, there's another bunch of 3 answers here, and based on the choices you make, you end up somewhere over here. One more thing that I want to say, which is how would you do it now, given that setup, to trigger if a person sits at the table in the end based on your answers? Does anybody have any idea? What would you do?
I would implement as part of basically as part of a line something that sets a flag of some name or ID or whatever,
Yes.
and then check that.
Yes, exactly. And because this is a game jam, there is something called trigger global variable, which if this is set, maybe I can find it. No, I can't find it in here. This one doesn't have one. I'm just gonna quickly look for one. Mother in the room. This one has one for sure. So this is when you speak to your mother when she is in her room, and you can be super nasty to her, which will lead to her not being at the table. And then there's this does mother join variable. It's just a string basically. You can't see it here. Does mother join dinner, and that's a global variable. The way I did it, because I game jam nasty code, don't do this in production. There is a static class global variables that has a dictionary with a string and a boolean, which there is this does mother join dinner, exact same name, and I trigger it globally from anywhere where I can. As I said, super nasty. Don't do this in production, but it just works for a game jam. It's super simple. There's no headache. It just works. Like I do that every time I do a game jam because it's just easier. Like doing this in a pretty way, you would probably need like something like a signal bus and like some injected code. It's just complicated. But that's basically how I made the game. That's just it. So the word I started a week late because I couldn't decide on what I wanted to do. So I only had 2 weeks. I made it in about 25 hours, 25 to 30 hours. Really simple. Yeah, that's it. That's my presentation. Any questions?
How did you organize the dialogue outside of Unity? Did you like have a notebook where you wrote that down, or did you work
Yes.
fully in Unity?
Yes. There is a 3-page Google Sheet document with the entire story that I wrote. And that I wrote that one first. And based on that story, I populated my dialogue tree.
Cool.
Yes.
Could you maybe just show us the game in action for like 1 minute? So
I wish I
we know
could,
how it looks?
but I didn't make it on this laptop, so
Oh.
it doesn't want to run, unfortunately. I could wait. Give me.
You can also show
I
it
have the
after
build.
event if
I
needed.
have the build. I actually have the build somewhere. Yeah, cool games, fading echoes, Windows build. There we go. That should work. It doesn't. Weirdly enough, it doesn't run in engine, but it runs in the build. Just give it a bit. Old laptop. Any other questions in the meantime? Oh, it started. Right. That's how the game looks. So the theme that I chose was dialogue, obviously, and the limitations that I chose is monochrome, which is why everything is like sort of in one color, or at least I try to. Like there's some flowers that are green that don't match, but let's ignore that. So that's how this looks. That's the start of one dialogue, and as soon as you hit E, you play the next note and the next note, and there's this little heart icon, which is the emotion that I've set. There's also a dictionary behind that just sets that as a scriptable object, and then you can trigger any answer you want, and based on the answers you give, the environment also changes, like the colors change. I tried to like mimic or to display the same emotions with the same colors. It didn't always work, but most of the time it worked. So yeah, that's just the game. There's an entire house that you can explore. There's some GDL cubes that you can pick up. And now I want to see if it also...
Can you pick?
Yeah, no. The last one is in there, and I can't open it for some reason. We figured that out too late, but yep, that's pretty much the game. Any other questions?
Do you think you'll keep working on it now?
No. No.
No sequel either?
No.
Did you use any AI for the dialogue?
Maybe. A little bit, maybe. No, like, yeah, a little bit, but not a lot. This is like all the assets that I use. So everything 3D is not made by me. It's just all free assets. Everything I did was basically the coding part and putting together the entire environment. Anything else was already provided by somebody else. Alright, cool. That's it. Anybody else? Questions?
What did you inspire yourself by any game in particular?
Yeah, Life is Strange. Like I had the urge to make something like that for a while, and now I got that urge out of me, and now I don't want to make it anymore.
I just wanted to ask.
I kind of do want to make it better, but I lack the graphical finesse, so I just give up. Yes.
Are you satisfied with the result?
Yeah, very much. Yes. It's very cool. I think, like that there are 8 different endings. There's replayability there. There's like a lot of different dialogues. Each choice gives you a different outcome. It's very cool, I think.
And did you learn something new?
Yeah. The I didn't know about the X node thing. I had to look. I looked that one up because I knew I wanted to write dialogues, and I have experience writing my own dialogue system, but that's like from my workplace. That is all like in-house tools that I'm not allowed to use in my private life. So I now had to look up. Okay, do I make something that runs in the Unity environment? How do I make this? Do I have to make this all on my own? Like, there's the graph node, it's called. That's what X node is using. Do I really have to do? There has to be something that already does this. And then I googled a little bit, and then I found that, and I was like, sweet, easy.
What was the biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge.
Like the thing that took you the most of the time, or something that like came out of nowhere, where like did everything went smoothly?
Building the entire house that took the most time, actually. Like the code is very straightforward, but the house took like 2 days to make. Something I struggled with was I wanted to create a WebGL build, but no, it just didn't want to. It wouldn't run for some reason. I don't know why. I still don't know why. I deactivated all post-processing effects. I disabled every single asset in the scene. It just won't run. I don't know why. I have no idea. So now it's just a normal Windows build, which is fine. Good. In that case, I'd say we go to the next presenter.